Howdy, folks. It is Monday, May 23rd. I'm Jacob Cohen, and you are listening to The Hustle Daily Show. Later in today's episode, close your ears, parents. For years, video games have been stigmatized as bad for kids. But a recent review that came out of over 10 years of gaming studies from the American Psychological Association challenges this notion. And we are going to discuss, but before we get into that, let me fill you in on what else is happening in the world of business and tech. Let's get crack-a-lackin'. All right, so first things first, goo goo gaga. Following up on the baby formula shortage America's been facing for weeks and weeks now. Yesterday, a U.S. military plane flew 77.8 thousand pounds of baby formula from Germany to Indianapolis as part of Operation Fly Formula. It's enough formula for about 500,000 bottles and to alleviate 15% of the national shortage. How about that? Moving along, Tom Cruise's Top Gun Maverick releases in theaters this Friday. Cruise's 44 films have earned over $8 billion in global box office sales. The release comes as the U.S. male name, I found this pretty interesting, as the U.S. male name Maverick is more popular than ever, rising from 864th place in 2000 to 47th in 2021. Cool thing is, Cruise and his fellow actors were actually flying the jets in this movie. It's not special effects for the most part, and apparently it's really quite an amazing sight. I look forward to seeing it. What is next? Rideshare prices in April were up 39% or so from 2019. Per mile pricing has increased over 27%, the result of a perfect storm of rising gas prices, rising car prices, labor shortages, and renewed investor interest in meaningful profits. Back in the early days of these apps, if you can remember, they were able to heavily subsidize rides with billions in venture capital. Now, not so much. And if you use Uber and Lyft, you're probably feeling that, as I am. And continuing on, SpaceX reportedly paid $250,000 to settle a sexual harassment claim against Elon Musk in 2016. The suit was filed by a flight attendant on a corporate jet who claims Musk offered her a horse. Apparently she rides horses in exchange for an erotic massage. Musk has flatly denied the allegations, but this is sure to be an interesting situation, as always, with him. And finally, prominent VC firm Y Combinator sent a letter to its portfolio founders urging them to plan for the worst amid market turbulence. The letter also encouraged them to cut costs to elongate their runways. Not a great sign for what's to come. So sorry to end on a little bit of a damper there, but we're going to keep it moving to today's main story. All right, so for years, video games have been stigmatized as bad for kids. But a recent review that came out of over 10 years of gaming studies from the American Psychological Association really challenges this notion. The review, which was published in the journal European Psychologist, found that gaming in moderation can be good for developing brains and doesn't have the same downsides as TikTok, which has been linked, unsurprisingly, to attention issues. So for reference, TikTok now commands more attention per user than Facebook and Instagram combined. Last year, the average TikTok user in the United States spent the equivalent of nearly 2 entire nonstop weeks in the app, and 36% of all Americans ages 12 plus are using TikTok. The problem with TikTok is twofold. First, obviously, it's extremely addictive, especially for us young folks, us youngins. The average adult makes 35,000 tiny decisions a day, and on TikTok, no decisions need to be made, really, on what to watch. You only need to decide what you do not want to watch, and things are really just spoon-fed to your eyes. So this is great because our brains naturally don't want to have to make decisions, and TikTok feeds on that, so it's very addictive. The second problem is that this thing that is addictive also happens to really not be so great for you. The vast majority of the time, TikToks are very entertaining, but they're not working your brain. They're not challenging you to think. And this brings us back to this review about gaming. So back to the studies. Teens and young adult gamers have apparently performed better than non-gamers on several cognitive tasks, including switching between visual tasks, dividing attention between different moving objects, and remembering the location of hidden objects. Now, while these benefits don't necessarily mean kids should just go start playing video games to get smarter, I'm sorry, that's not an argument you can use, kids. One of the psychologists involved said parents also shouldn't worry about gaming frying kids' brains or making them zombies. I've heard that one before, because that's not true, they say. Unless, of course, they play too much. Determining how much is too much depends on the person. But some potential signs to look out for include getting anxious or irritable when unable to game, lying about how much one games, and losing interest in things that you used to enjoy. Now, internet gaming disorder is an actual ailment defined by the World Health Organization as consistently prioritizing gaming over other activities, despite the negative consequences. And this behavior is really one reason, probably the main reason, gaming gets a bad rap. A quarter of American adults think video games are a waste of time. 40% believe people who play violent games are more likely to exhibit violent behavior, according to the Pew Research Center. Now, the Chinese government has recently tweaked its policy to address gaming, banning kids from online gaming on weekdays and limiting play to 1 hour per day on weekends and holidays. How about that? I don't think many Americans know that. That is the case in China. So American parents, if your kids ever complain about not getting enough time to play on their video games, you can literally point to the law of the land in China, in which they would literally not be able to play video games during the week by law. And the answer to all this, as is with many things, is that perhaps it is time for a more nuanced perspective on gaming, which is that it is totally fine in moderation. Kids and parents, though, do with that as you wish. And bada bing, bada boom, that is going to do it for us today, folks. If you liked what you heard, we've got a lot more tech and business coverage over at thehustle.co. I'm Jacob Cohen. Our editor is Ezra Trupiano, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. Thanks for tuning in to The Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. See you tomorrow.
Hey guys, if you listen to the Hustle Daily Show on Google Podcasts, we want to let you know that the option will no longer be available pretty soon. Google is sunsetting its podcast app sometime in early 2024 in favor of YouTube Music, and we want to give you a heads up before it's too late, since that time's almost here. The Hustle Daily Show is available everywhere and anywhere that you listen to podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're using YouTube Music, we are there as well. If you're an Android fan, there are plenty of apps like Overcast, Pocket Casts, Player FM, and more. So just search for us wherever you decide to listen to your favorite podcasts.